Hello and welcome to another Overlord lore video, and today we are going to talk about Nigredo, Albedos' older sister and the oldest of the three Sorcerer's Stone siblings. But before we are going to dive into Nigredo, I want to thank my Patreons for supporting this channel. Now, as mentioned, her name is related to the mythical Sorcerer's Stone, specifically the first stage of its creation to be more precise, the blackening, and Nigredo is just the Latin word referring to this very process. Now, despite being the oldest of the sisters and her rather special background, she likely is the weakest of them. While it is stated that she is close to the level cap, this very much implies that she hasn't reached it, and is therefore not level 100, but slightly below. But still, she is one of Nazarick's strongest beings, though her strength is manifested not in physical ways. In terms of location and hierarchy, Nigredo is normally imprisoned on the first level of the frozen prison in the 5th floor, so she is an area guardian in Kokaidos' domain, but only of the first level. After that, Neuronist Painkill and her choir sings undisturbed, and quite disturbingly. So in essence, the frozen prison is almost as bad as the Final Fantasy house. Now, as for her purpose, generally speaking, she is the equivalent of a witch looking into a cauldron of pus, or Lord Farquaad looking in the magic mirror. For Nigredo specializes in surveillance, intelligence, anti-intelligence, and counter-surveillance skills and abilities. For she was able to not only locate the missing and mind-controlled child here within a rather short time span, but Nigredo is also able to create complex layers of different surveillance and counter-surveillance skills, spells, areas, and, in general speaking, measures. For example, during the demonic incursion of Demiurge, she was able to put the entire city of Riestais under surveillance, while also creating wards of anti-intelligence around the meeting places of Demiurge and the Pleiades, without these spells and abilities interfering or neutralizing one another, and the skill required to keep 1 million people more or less under close watch during a staged demonic invasion, with several level 100 beings running around, countless demons, civilians and soldiers fighting, and potential hostile high-level players and NPCs who might eventually get involved. Greatly highlights her intelligence and her ability to multitask, which might be on the same level or close by as Albedos' ability to do this, who, mind you, could read through complex texts and numbers while simultaneously scheming and scaring the 8-edged assassins on the ceiling. But while she's on good terms with Albedo, her younger sister, the same can be said about Rubedo, her youngest sister, and the strongest being in all of Nazarick. Yes, even stronger than Touch Me. And while Nigredo is troubled, to say the absolute least, as a being created with the main focus on intel gathering, we really should consider her words. Nigredo doesn't think of Rubedo very highly. And while all 3 of the sisters were created by Tabula Smaragdina, and are supposed to be sisters and on good terms, Nigredo nonetheless thinks that Rubedo will bring a great calamity upon Nazarick. And she also points out that while all 3 of them were created by the same person, they weren't created equally, for Rubedo is not only the strongest of the 3 sisters, and all of the denizens of Nazarick for that matter, but her very creation process apparently greatly differs from that of Rubedo's 2 older sisters, something Nigredo had pointed out herself. Furthermore, not only content to point out how different and dangerous Rubedo is in her mind, Nigredo also calls Rubedo Spinel, which is the name of a minor gemstone, and is meant to be a massive derogatory term for Rubedo, who, again, according to the creation process of the Sorcerer's Stone, should be the highest and purest last stage of it, so the slur Spinel isn't some superficial insult, but belittles Rubedo's very existence and creation. But while Nigredo implores her sister, Albedo isn't apparently at all concerned about Rubedo, and thinks well of her little sister, much to the dismay of Nigredo. And to further highlight just how distant, afraid and concerned Nigredo truly is about her youngest sister, Nigredo additionally stated that Rubedo isn't the type of person one could trust, like and connect to easily. And this is coming from an imprisoned insane spy master, with a face entirely devoid of skin, eyelids or lips, presenting the bare muscle, and her marble-white teeth to everyone who doesn't want that level of undress to occur. And she was imprisoned in the first place due to attacking everyone who isn't presenting her an infant child puppet on sight, claiming that the visitor surely must have stolen her child. And while she indeed deeply cares about newborn babies, as soon as they are beyond the age of 2, they become nothing more than an amalgamation of flesh, bone and skin, and are mentally and physically abandoned by her former caring mother, who would drop them onto the cold, frozen prison cell floor, where they would cry and whine for the rest of their eternal life, which by the way is the very reason that her cell floor is littered with crying kids. Fun fact, the amount of levels required, or rather used up by Tabula Smaragdina to create all of the crying children was apparently so high that other guild members complained about it, and Ainz had to personally invest real-world money in order to purchase more in-game levels in Yggdrasil. And with this in mind, if Nigredo says that something is wrong with Rubedo and that she is rather unlovable, then at the very least I have some expectations about the strongest being in all of Nazarick, and about what is going to happen with Rubedo and Albedos' plan, for while the outside world isn't so much of a threat as a chore to Nazarick. A rogue floor guardian overseer in control of Rubedo, the strongest being in all of Nazarick, is certainly a force of apocalyptic proportions. Speaking of this, while Nigredo and Albedo are rather fond of one another and have a generally good relationship, Albedo, while considering whom to make the leader of the new spy agency of Nazarick, is worried that Nigredo, if she would learn too much about Albedo's true intentions, might very well become her enemy. So aside from essentially all of her issues, she is loyal towards Ainz Ooal Gown, so much so that she would go against her sister, with which she has a good relationship and who was created by her beloved Tabula Smaragdina. But even with this in mind, and in contrast to Ainz Ooal Gown's intelligence and plans, or Climb's submissiveness towards Rennar, Nigredo's loyalty has limits, for she alongside Pestonia went against Ainz Ooal Gown's order and saved the children kidnapped by Yaldabaoth during the demonic incursion of Realy, instead of having them killed, something that enraged Albedo to the point that she called for both of their heads, though Ainz simply imprisoned Pestonia alongside Nigredo. So crisis averted, at least for a time. But her kindness didn't end there. Nigredo, after stating that Ainz should considerably expand the undead labor program, with the aim of developing such a massive amount of food surplus that a fine food culture would arise to highlight the superiority of the Sorcerer Kingdom, alongside her fellow prisoner Pestonia, pleaded for the life of the people of the Kingdom of Realy, so much so that Ainz allowed some of them to escape, in order to spread fear and terror by simply describing what had tried to kill them, thereby demoralizing the other survivors of Nazarick's invasion, and Nigredo succeeded. Ultimately she, after a request by Yuri Alpha, was put to work in Nazarick's war orphanage, certainly one of the most secure workplaces you could have in all of Overlord, though given Nigredo's mental state she might exclusively care for the infants, while Pestonia handles them until they would be old enough to enter the emerging education system under Yuri Alpha. So overall Nigredo is a very special and interesting character that might have yet to play a major role during the upcoming Albedo activity, whatever they may be. And with that said, I say thank you very much for watching, and special thanks to Adam J, Al Capone, Andy, Angel of Death, Bad Guy Yee, Boyzilla, Chrissy, Diabetic Centaur, Dystopia, Elika Birchleaf, Thales Catus, Feral Shivan, Gigafight, Ghost of Epicness, Hector Marino, Black Phoenix Emperor, Hoss, Jason, Kleinator, Chromius, Large, Lord Nishikian Rai, Lord Touch Me, Lord Ulbert Olaine Oddle, Luces Ollie, Lexus Fox, Majima, Mad, Mad C, Marcos, Mr. Shoes, Mindless Wrath, Minnow 13, Myrtis, Nfiria's Potion, Primus 11, Sasuga Einsamer, Sebastian, Shadow Lightning Wolf, Surge, Sparkly Unicorn, The Orc Warboss, Rock Ed Smasher, Vash Hawkeye, Zoggo Bane of a Lot, and Zonagon. Thanks guys. Anyway, have a nice day, over and out.